Hey everyone, and welcome back to Raya Deed. Last time, we talked about how teeny tiny bacteria almost turned Earth into a giant snowball. Well, today, we're flipping the script completely. We're going bigger, hotter, and a whole lot scarier. We're diving into the story of the giants who owned this planet, and the one, single, awful day that brought their 160 million year dynasty to a crashing halt.
All right, to really get this, you got to use your imagination for a second. Picture a world where every continent you know, Asia, Africa, the Americas, all of them are just slammed together into one massive piece of land. Think about it. You want to walk from, say, South Africa to Antarctica? You could. A trip to Japan. Just start walking. No passport, no planes. Kind of wild, right? Well, this incredible supercontinent was called Pangea, and it was the original home of the titans we all know and love. Yep, the dinosaurs.
So, let's kick off the first part of our story, a single, scorching world. You see, having just one giant continent completely messes with the climate. Without big oceans to kind of even things out, the middle of Pangea was just brutal. Think incredibly hot, super dry, almost like a planet-sized desert. It was a really harsh place to live. But it was in this furnace, this crucible, that a brand new group of reptiles showed up and started their slow, steady march to taking over the entire world.
And man, what a reign it was. We're talking about the Age of Giants, an era of true titans.
So this whole Mesozoic era, this 160 million year dynasty, we can break it down into three main chapters. It all starts with the Triassic period. This is kind of the dawn of the dinosaurs, where they're still finding their footing, mostly smaller guys competing with these gnarly ancient croc relatives. Then we hit the Jurassic. This is the land of giants. We're talking those colossal, long-necked sauropods munching on endless forests of ferns. And finally, we get to the Cretaceous. This is peak dinosaur. The diversity just explodes, and you get the A-listers, the rock stars we all know today, like the mighty T-Rex and the awesome Triceratops.
Okay, so let's really look at the difference between these two worlds, the Jurassic and the Cretaceous. It's like night and day. During the Jurassic, Pangea is starting to crack and pull apart. That lets a ton of moisture in from the oceans, making everything really humid and creating these massive lush forests filled with ferns and conifers. It was basically a planet-sized all-you-can-eat salad bar for giants like Brontosaurus. But fast-forwarded to the Cretaceous, and things are way different. The continents have drifted into shapes that look, kind of familiar. And here's the real game-changer. Flowering plants appear for the first time. This completely changed the entire menu for the herbivores, which in turn changed everything else. These new ecosystems gave rise to a whole new cast of superstars, from the horned Triceratops to its biggest fan, the Tyrannosaurus rex.
So for 160 million years, they were the undisputed kings. They adapted, they evolved, they absolutely dominated every corner of the globe. You'd think their empire would last forever, right? But 66 million years ago, it all came to an end. In a single terrifying moment, everything they had built was about to be erased. An uninvited guest was coming, and it was coming fast.
That guest was an asteroid. And we're not talking some little space pebble, no. This was a literal mountain of rock and metal, more than 10 kilometers wide. That's bigger than Mount Everest is tall. And it was screaming through the void of space on a direct collision course with our planet. And it wasn't just the size, it was the sheer speed. It was moving many, many times faster than a speeding bullet when it slammed into Earth, right near the Yucatan Peninsula in modern-day Mexico. The energy released in that one instant is, well, it's something our brains can barely even comprehend.
But you know what? The initial explosion, that was just the opening act. What followed was a horrifying chain reaction, a domino effect of disaster. First, you get earthquakes that shake the entire planet, and tsunamis miles high. But the real killer, the thing that doomed them all, was the dust. Trillions of tons of rock were instantly vaporized and blasted into the atmosphere, wrapping the Earth in this thick, dark shroud. It blocked out the sun completely, for years. No sun means the plants die. No plants means the herbivores starve. No herbivores, well, the carnivores are next. The entire global food chain just collapsed, from the bottom all the way to the top. It was one of the worst days in the history of life on Earth.
It was a total apocalypse, the end of an age. But, you know the saying, life finds a way. Even after all that destruction, some things held on. So, who made it through? Who were the heirs to this broken post-dinosaur world? Well, first, let's talk about who didn't make it. The titans were gone.
T-Rex, Triceratops, those huge sauropods, all the famous land-dwelling dinosaurs, the non-avian ones, were just gone, wiped from the face of the planet forever.
But two key groups managed to cling on through the darkness. First, believe it or not, one type of dinosaur did survive: the avian dinosaurs. We're talking about the smaller, feathered ones that would eventually evolve into every single bird you see today. Yeah, that pigeon in the park, its great-great-great-great-grandma was a dinosaur. Their small size and ability to fly probably helped them scavenge for food. And the other group? Hiding out, burrowing deep underground, were our own distant ancestors, these tiny, kind of shrew-like mammals. They'd spent millions of years living in the shadows, trying not to get stepped on. But now, with the giants gone, the world was theirs for the taking.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? What's the lesson from this absolutely epic 160 million year story of rise and fall? What can the mightiest creatures to ever walk the earth teach us?
I think it's this. That one terrible day proved that being the biggest, or the strongest, or the baddest thing on the block doesn't guarantee you a thing. When the world changes in an instant, when you're faced with a catastrophe on that scale, greatness isn't what saves you. Adaptability is. It was the small, the quick, the creatures who could find a new way to survive in a totally new world. They were the ones who got to inherit the Earth.
Which brings me to a question for all of you. Out of all the incredible dinosaurs we've talked about, which one is your favorite? Seriously, if you could hop in a time machine and see just one of them for real, which one would it be? Drop a comment below and let me know. I'd love to see what you guys think.
Hey, before you click away, if you had fun on this trip back in time, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps. And if you know someone else who's a huge dinosaur nerd, share this with them. Most importantly, make sure you follow the Roy Adit channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Because in our next explainer, we're going to pick up right where we left off and follow the wild evolutionary journey that eventually leads to, well, to us. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.